Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now, let us discuss the back exercises of this unit, dear students. Define learning. Now, we know we have defined learning. There are multiple definitions that we came across of learning in our chapter. And on the whole, what we know is that learning is something which is a key process of the human behavior. It refers to the behavioral changes that will occur over a period of time due to practice and experience. So as we learned, practice and experience played a very important role in the learning process. What do we mean by inference? Now, inference, as I had told you already, inference means what did you end up learning or what did you end up understanding after a process. Example, I gave the same example when teaching you this meaning of inference. A teacher gave homework to the children. One child ended up completing the homework, while the one child did not end up completing the homework, while when asked the questions from the topic, the child was very much able to answer them. So this showed that the child, although had not completed the homework, but had understood the chapter well, right? And I again gave, on the contrary, there may be a child who had completed the homework but is not able to answer. That is going to make you infer the fact that that child who is not able to answer you has either copied the work from the text or has taken the help of somebody to solve. Right? What is a satisfying response? Satisfying response is that which gives you a positive result, which gives you a positive outcome. An annoying response is something which does not give you a positive. What is classical conditioning? We learned about the classical conditioning theory, wherein the classical conditioning theory talked about how a dog was trained. So classical conditioning means when some conditions are applied before a learner so as to ensure that under similar circumstances the learner is going to behave in the same way. So that is classical conditioning. This is termed as classical conditioning because this theory is different from the other conditioning theories that were introduced by the psychologists, and then therefore the classical conditioning. How important is timing in Pavlov's theory? Timing is very important because as Pavlov explained to us the fact, we are going to get the desired conditioned response from our stimuli only when the bell and the food is produced together or after just a gap of a few seconds, so that the learner is prepared and is well trained to expect food immediately after the bell is rung. So yes, timing played a very important role in Pavlov's theory. What is partial reinforcement? We've learned about this as well. Partial reinforcement is when there is less than 100%, the chances for a reinforcement to occur for less than 100%. How can you justify that learning involves experience? We know very well that learning involves experience. We have learned that through our theories. Why? Because experience is something that is going to make your learning deeper and fun. We've learned that experiences can either be can be single experiences. For example, you burn your finger with the help of a matchstick, and that single experience has taught you to be cautious of such things. And there may be a few experiences that ought to be repeated again and again so as to enable you to learn from them. For example, repeating the usage of algorithms, or repeating the usage of trigonometry in the class will help you finally learn it better. So this is experience. It can either be a single experience or something that has to be repeated. What is the law of effect? Now we have again discussed about the law of effect. So the law of effect talks about the fact that some exercise which is repeated is going to strengthen the bond. If you are repeating something and you are able to get the desired response out of it, your satisfaction level is going to increase. Okay, I know if I do this, I am going to achieve it. So my level of satisfaction is going to achieve. I will come to the conclusion that some practice can be used by me, and that practice which did not reap me any benefit can be disused by me. So law of effect further talked about the law of use, that is using and adopting and implementing and repeating those techniques which made you or led you closer to your goal, and law of disuse, which meant eliminating or discarding such techniques which you found were not useful. How can we eliminate the bad habits? One can eliminate the bad habits by the law of disuse. If we continue to disuse something, if we continue to discard something, for a prolonged period of time, then that thing is slowly and gradually will get reduced in our brain. We are going to retain less of it and forget about it altogether. How can fear be eliminated? Fear can be eliminated when a fearful object or a phobia is presented to the person or to the learner in association with a pleasant situation, where the child or the learner is going to understand that not every time a snake means fear or a snake means poison. There can be some pleasant situations also. For example, snake is considered to be, an animal who is to be preached. Okay, the symbol of Lord Shiva. So, whatever positive and pleasant experiences can be used with respect to a fear, we'll be able to, make that fear redundant altogether. What is B.F. Skinner's theory of operant conditioning? We have discussed that. I am sure you'd be able to answer it. Why is Skinner's theory of operant conditioning important? So, operant conditioning is important. We've again discussed about the educational, implication. Here, why is it important means you have to talk about the educational implication of the Skinner's theory. What are the various methods of learning? How can you learn something? What are the various ways in which learning can take place? Again, we have learned their learning takes place through experience, it takes place through behavior, through attitude, through habit, through inference, and you have to explain them. What are the characteristics of the insight learning? Again, we have discussed the characteristics of the insightful learning as well. We've learned that it happens suddenly and it is not it does not make use of the trial and error method. One is able to understand and then learn something out of it. The relationship is better and stronger, and you are able to transfer it to new situations as well. What is Thorndike's trial and error theory? You have to explain that with the help of an example. The example of the cat that is given with the help of which Thorndike explained his theory. You have to use that and explain it. What are the generalized feelings about the Thorndike's theory? Again, this is given in your book very clearly. There is not something which requires, much of a thought. So, the evaluation of the Thorndike's theory is to be considered by you in this question. How is Thorndike theory of learning important in education? Again, the educational implications of Thorndike's theory. Define conditioning and explain the conditioned relationship. This conditioned relationship you are going to explain with the help of that the dog and the bell example. Okay? And you have to explain how the dog was conditioned to just salivate on the ringing of a bell. The educational implication of the classical conditioning theory that can be done by you easily. How can you say that theory of conditioning shapes the habit formation? Conditioning means how to behave in a certain manner when exposed to something on a regular basis in a repetitive manner. So when something is repeated, it leads to the development, leads to the formation of a habit. And that is why the dog, even on the ringing of the bell, was salivating, because he had got a habit of salivating on the ringing of bell, because every time the bell was rung, food was offered along. The details of B.F. Skinner's experiment and what was its mechanism that we reached out, again you can write that easily. What was the difference between Skinner's theory of operant conditioning and Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning? The most important and probable difference between them was, in Skinner's theory, there was absence of motivation. Skinner's box, when we talked about a rat who would simply press the lever, hear the signals, hear the sound, click sound, see the signal, and see the food being delivered into the palate. There was no motivation that instilled or that forced the rat to press the lever. On the other hand, in Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning, there was a very important role played by motivation. The cat was motivated to get the fish which was kept outside the box, and that is why the cat made multiple errors and responses in pulling the lever, and then was able to come out and eat the fish. So you have to explain both the theories, both the models, and then talk about the presence of motivation in one and the absence. The Gestalt's law of learning that lay emphasis on organization and dynamic pattern. We have discussed about this, the law of Gestalt and its impact on organization. It is given in your book clearly. The details of educational implication of Gestalt's theory, the characteristics of insightful learning, again given clearly in your book. Mechanism, how does the operant conditioning theory work? That also you have to write. And the last question is, describe intelligence as a factor that influences insightful learning. Now, intelligence obviously plays the most important role in the theory of insightful learning, because it is on the basis of one's intelligence that one is able to learn and to decide how to use the available resources in the most productive and efficient manner, so that a result can be reached there, so that an outcome can be reached there. So intelligence plays the most important role in life. And with this, my dear students, we come to the end of Unit 8. I hope the unit was clear to you. We discussed all the questions at length. I shall see you all now in my next lecture.